So what is your definition of native advertising?
Sure, yeah, native advertising, obviously there's a lot of different definitions in the marketplace, and I think there are actually legitimately multiple flavors of native advertising. The most basic criteria, in my opinion, for advertising to qualify as native is simply that the advertising adopts the look and feel of the surrounding environment, right? Essentially where brands are delivering advertising the same way that content is being delivered, right? That's the most basic, most fundamental qualification. And now there are different flavors beyond that. For example, content marketing would qualify as native advertising because it takes on the form of the content. However, not all native advertising is content marketing. Some native advertising simply is just an ad that adopts the same look and feel and the same format as the content, but it's very clearly an ad and is not attempting to look like content per se. And so I'd say those are probably the two predominant forms of native advertising. I think most people have been familiar with content marketing in the earlier iterations of native advertising, like print advertorial, for example, and also some of the content marketing that you're going to find on television would be considered native advertising. Adaptly is not a content marketing company per se. We are building technology to deliver advertising that is native to the environments across the platforms that we have integrations with.
So Adaptly's native advertising efforts are clearly labeled as advertising?
Yes, it's one of the basic best practices of successful native advertising is that it's always labeled as such, right? Sponsored, or in the case of something like Facebook, it would be promoted. In the case of Twitter, it would also be promoted, so or sponsored. So yes, absolutely, it's always labeled as clearly such. The point of native advertising is not to trick the consumer. The point is to add value. And there's a couple ways to add value. One is to not be obtrusive and to actually, have a similar behavior to the rest of the content that the consumer is interacting with. So it's not intrusive, but also to ultimately, hopefully, deliver something of interest, something that's informative, something that's funny, something that's entertaining, etc.
What type of metrics do you collect and how do you use them?
Sure. So we collect just about every possible marketing metric that's made available to us through our integrations with our publisher platforms. And so we consume just about every form of data, whether it be the number of ads that have been served, how many unique users the ad has reached, what types of engagement rates. In the case of platforms like Facebook and Twitter, engagements include things like shares and likes and retweets. We'll take a look at response metrics, right? Like click-throughs, for example. And then, typically we're also tracking back-end metrics like conversions to sales and new customers acquired and the actual dollar value of transactions in some cases, both online and offline. So we're typically collecting all that information, making it available to our advertisers in our dashboard, and then we'll oftentimes create customer reports based on the very specific KPIs of the marketer.
How do you account for viewability?
So viewability is still a fairly hot topic in the industry. I think, however, it is a remnant of what I would call commodity media. So the display advertising industry for most sort of traditional websites. Where everything on a page is loaded at the exact same time, the content and the ads, and typically actually the ads might be loaded first. Viewability is important in those environments because the user may or may not actually scroll that ad into view, but the ad server might actually consider the ad have being delivered, even though it hasn't been viewed or isn't even an opportunity to see the ad. With the platforms that Adaptly is integrating with, Facebook, Twitter, Kik, etc., the ad is not quote unquote served until the ad is literally in stream. So most of the advertising we deliver is native, right? In the case of Facebook, it's a news feed. So there is no ad being served until the user literally scrolls that real estate into view. So viewability is a non-issue for Adaptly and the ecosystems that we work with.
How do you think connected TV will impact your part of the business?
So we've already seen a convergence of digital video and linear television, if you will, on the buying side. So that day has come where most media buyers no longer look at digital video and television as separate line items or separate budgets, I should say. And so I think that's the first and potentially most significant signal as to where things are headed. Every TV ships connected today, basically, so that day is upon us as well. And so you've got already direct integrations of the new media companies like the Netflix of the world, Amazon, eBay, etc. These are all media companies. They're also all autonomous platforms that very much look and feel like, you know, the sort of earlier media companies in that they've amassed large audiences, they create their own technology, and they have the ability to deliver marketing and advertising to these audiences with incredible precision and accuracy. So for Adaptly, where already about a third of the media that we deliver is video based, this will ultimately, I think, present another wave of growth of video in general for us to help our marketers tap into and help them achieve, you know, potential with what is ultimately the sort of most effective sight, sound, and motion, of course, which is the 60-inch LED that's in my living room. It certainly delivers a remarkable experience.